Beloved, can you feel it? The very atmosphere is thick with his presence. Oh, precious people, there are moments when the hand of God rests upon a life so gently yet so powerfully that no force on earth can deny it. Tonight I stand before you trembling with awe, because I know some of you here have been marked by heaven. You've been chosen not because of who you are, but because of who he is. The favor of God, it cannot be bought, it cannot be earned, it cannot be manipulated. It is bestowed by the King of Glory himself. And when you are favored by God, doors swing open where walls once stood. The impossible bends in obedience, and your very existence becomes a testimony of his divine love. Let me tell you, dear heart, if you see these signs in your life, it is not coincidence. It is the kiss of God upon your soul. When divine doors open effortlessly where human effort fails, it is the undeniable mark of God's favor resting upon a life. There are countless stories in Scripture and throughout the history of the church where individuals stood at the edge of impossibility, where human reasoning said there was no way forward, and yet heaven intervened and a way was made. The favor of God is not bound by the natural laws that govern human effort. When his hand moves, what was locked suddenly swings wide. What was denied becomes available, and what seemed like a wilderness transforms into a pathway. This is not because of strength, eloquence, or wisdom, but because God chooses to open the doors that no man can shut. When you see this happen in your life, when opportunities arise that you could never orchestrate by your own ability, it is a sign that the breath of God has gone before you to prepare the way. Consider the life of Joseph, the son of Jacob, who was sold into slavery by his own brothers. In human terms, his story should have ended in obscurity, crushed under the weight of betrayal and injustice. Yet the favor of God rested upon him, and every step of his journey testified to doors opening where human hands had closed them. In Potiphar's house, Joseph rose to prominence despite being a slave, not because of human endorsement, but because God's favor made him excel. Even when he was falsely accused and thrown into prison, favor did not leave him. The prison doors could not keep the plan of God bound. He was elevated again, and in the fullness of time, God opened the door of Pharaoh's palace, seating Joseph in the place of highest authority in the land. None of these doors opened by his own effort. They opened by the divine orchestration of God, who exalts those he chooses and makes a way where there is no way. In our lives, divine favor often reveals itself in moments where everything around us says no, yet the Spirit of God whispers, yes. A job that seems out of reach suddenly is offered to you. A financial breakthrough arrives without the expected channels. A relationship is restored in ways that years of effort could not accomplish. This is not mere luck nor coincidence. It is a supernatural mark of being favored by God. When the Almighty decides to lift you up, human opposition cannot push you down. When he decides to set you apart, even the voices of doubt and the schemes of adversaries are silenced. His favor overrides the verdict of man and establishes the decree of heaven. The beauty of divine doors is that they are not opened by manipulation, networking, or striving. In fact, one of the clearest signs of God's favor is when something happens in your life that you know you could never have engineered yourself. It humbles you. It brings you to tears. It forces you to lift your hands and acknowledge that it was only God. This is why people who are favored often carry a deep sense of awe and gratitude. They know that the opportunities they walk through are not the result of their own strength, but the fingerprints of God's mercy. They know that if it had not been for the Lord, the door would have remained shut. And this realization deepens their worship, for favor always points us back to the giver. Another dimension of this sign is that divine doors often open at the very moment when human effort has reached its limit. God allows us to come to the end of ourselves, to exhaust our strategies and strength, so that when he moves, we cannot attribute the outcome to anything but his power. Think of Peter, who toiled all night on the sea, casting his nets with no results. By morning, he was very discouraged and ready to quit. Yet Jesus stepped into his boat, gave a simple instruction, and in one act of obedience, the nets overflowed with fish. Peter could not boast of his skill. The miracle came when the master entered the situation. The open door of provision was not the result of labor, but of divine intervention. This is how God works with those he favors. He brings increase, fruitfulness, An opportunity not by the might of the arm, but by the power of his Spirit. Sometimes the doors God opens are not the ones we expect, and this too is part of his favor. We may pray for one opportunity only to watch it slip away, wondering why heaven seems silent. Yet later another door opens, greater, higher, and more fitting for the calling he has placed upon us. This is why discernment is essential, for favor does not always align with human logic. The path of favor may look like rejection in the moment, but it is simply redirection. God closes certain doors not because he is withholding, but because he is protecting. He knows where each open door will lead, and in his favor, he orchestrates events so that the right door opens at the right time. To the favored one, delays are not denials. They are the rhythm of divine timing. The presence of divine doors also often stirs jealousy, misunderstanding, or opposition from others. When people see doors opening for you that remain closed for them, they may criticize, question, or even resist. Yet this too is a confirmation of favor. The same way Joseph's brothers envied him when they saw the coat of many colors, people may struggle to understand why you are chosen for certain opportunities. But favor is not fair. It is sovereign. God does not need to explain why he places his hand on one person in a specific way. He is the potter, and we are the clay. What others see as unfair, heaven calls favor. And though men may fight against it, they cannot stop what God has ordained. As you reflect on the doors that have opened in your own journey, think of the moments where your qualifications should not have been enough, where your resources should have fallen short, where your name should have been overlooked, and yet the door opened. These are not random moments. They are signposts of divine favor. They remind you that you are walking under a covering that is not of this world. They remind you that the God who parted the Red Sea for Israel and tore open the prison gates for Paul and Silas is the same God who opens doors for you today. His favor marks you, guides you, and ushers you into places you could never enter alone. When unexplainable protection surrounds you in every season, it is a clear sign that the favor of God is resting upon your life. Many have walked through dangers, setbacks, and storms that should have destroyed them, yet somehow they emerged untouched, shielded by an invisible hand. The world may call it luck, chance, or coincidence, but the child of God recognizes it as divine preservation. From the earliest pages of Scripture, God revealed himself as a shield to his people, a fortress in the midst of battle, and a covering in times of great peril. When his favor rests upon you, he orders angels concerning you, he raises hedges around you, and he ensures that even when the enemy comes in like a flood, his Spirit lifts up a standard against it. Think of Daniel in the lion's den. By every natural calculation, his fate was sealed the moment he was lowered into that pit. Lions that had torn apart countless victims before him were expected to do the same to him. Yet favor changed the outcome. The angel of the Lord shut the mouths of the lions, and Daniel spent the night under supernatural protection. That protection was not the result of political power or human intervention, but the favor of God that turned a place of death into a place of testimony. Similarly, when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were thrown into the fiery furnace, the flames had the power to consume, but the presence of God within the fire rendered the flames powerless. This is what divine protection looks like. It does not always prevent you from entering the trial, but it ensures that the trial does not consume you. In modern life, this favor is seen when accidents are avoided, when illnesses pass over, when dangers are averted without logical explanation. You may find yourself saying, "I don't know how I made it through that situation," or "I should have been counted out, but I'm still here." These are not ordinary outcomes. They are supernatural indicators that heaven's shield has been drawn around you. The favored one walks through circumstances that others cannot survive, not because of superior strength, but because of the God who declares, "Touch not my anointed." This protection is not limited to physical safety. It extends to emotional, spiritual, and even financial areas of life. When God's hand is upon you, he will preserve your mind from collapse, your faith from destruction, and your destiny from derailment. One of the mysteries of divine favor is that you may not always see the battles that are being fought on your behalf. Angels are dispatched to encamp around those who fear the Lord, and countless attacks are stopped before they ever reach you. This is why some seasons of your life appear calmer than they should be, why your peace endures in the middle of chaos, why your joy remains even when others in the same storm crumble. The shield of favor is often invisible, but its results are undeniable. It is the unseen interventions of God that preserve your steps, causing you to walk through valleys of shadow without succumbing to fear. Unexplainable protection is also revealed in timing. Many can recall moments when leaving just a few minutes later or turning down a particular street spared them from disaster. To the casual observer, these may seem like coincidences, but to the favored child of God, they are divine orchestrations. He orders your steps so carefully that even the smallest details align to shield you from harm. This is why the psalmist declared that the Lord is your keeper, your shade at your right hand, the one who watches over your coming and going both now and forevermore. Favor ensures that your timeline is guarded, that the enemy cannot overtake you before your assignment is complete. Protection under favor does not mean life will be free from challenges, but it does mean the challenges cannot destroy you. Joseph endured betrayal, slavery, and false accusation, yet none of these could derail the plan of God. Though arrows flew from every direction, they could not pierce the shield of favor that was upon him. The same is true for you. When you are favored, weapons may be formed, but they will not prosper. Opposition may rise, but it cannot prevail. What was meant to harm you is redirected to serve God's greater purpose in your life. Favor transforms traps into stepping stones, valleys into testimonies, and threats into platforms for His glory. Another aspect of divine protection is how it guards you from making decisions that would harm your future. There are times when doors are closed not only to redirect you, but to protect you from paths that would lead to destruction. People may walk away from your life, and though it feels like rejection, in hindsight you realize it was protection. Investments may fail to materialize, but later you discover they would have drained you. Opportunities may slip through your hands, but eventually you see they were traps disguised as blessings. The favor of God shields not only your body, but also your destiny. He ensures that the plans He has for you remain intact, even when you do not fully understand what He is keeping you from. This protective favor also cultivates confidence. When you know you are shielded by the Most High, you stop living in constant fear of the unknown. You no longer dread what tomorrow may bring, because you are assured that the one who holds tomorrow is also holding you. This confidence is not arrogance, it is trust. It is the settled assurance that though storms may rage, though enemies may plot, though obstacles may arise, the hand of God will not let you go. You carry yourself differently when you know you are covered. You sleep more peacefully when you know angels are encamped around you. You speak with boldness when you know that no weapon formed against you can prosper. The testimony of protection is one of the most powerful witnesses of God's favor because it often defies human explanation. When others look at your life and ask, "How did you survive that? How are you still standing?" your answer points them back to the Lord. Protection is not just for your benefit. It becomes a platform for God's glory. Every time you walk out of a fire that should have consumed you, every time you emerge from a battle that should have broken you, your life becomes evidence that His favor is real and His power is unmatched. Those around you see that you are not standing by chance, but by the hand of God Himself. When people are drawn to bless you without knowing why, it is a radiant sign that the favor of God is active in your life. There are moments when generosity flows toward you in ways that cannot be explained by human logic. Strangers extend kindness. Friends go out of their way to support you. And even those who may not fully understand, you feel compelled to contribute to your journey. This is not manipulation, nor is it the result of clever strategy. It is the invisible hand of God moving upon the hearts of men and women, aligning their actions to His purpose for your life. Divine favor creates an attraction in the spiritual realm that manifests in the natural, causing people to become instruments of blessing even when they do not consciously realize it. In the book of Exodus, God promised the children of Israel that when they left Egypt, they would not depart empty-handed. He declared that He would give them favor in the sight of the Egyptians and that they would leave carrying silver, gold, and garments. Imagine this picture: slaves who had been oppressed for generations suddenly walking out with wealth transferred into their hands because God moved upon the hearts of their captors. The Egyptians who once resisted them became channels of blessing to them. This is the power of favor. It turns adversaries into benefactors, and it positions people to bless you for reasons they cannot explain. Throughout Scripture, this theme is repeated. Ruth, the Moabite widow, found herself gleaning in the fields of Boaz. By every natural standard, she was an outsider with little to offer, yet Boaz was drawn to bless her abundantly. He instructed his workers to leave extra grain for her. He extended kindness beyond custom, and he ultimately became her redeemer. Ruth did not force this to happen. It was the favor of God that caused Boaz to see her with eyes of compassion and generosity. Favor works this way. It plants seeds of kindness in the hearts of others and causes them to treat you with unusual care and respect. In daily life, this sign can show up in many ways. You may walk into a room and find that someone you just met offers you help, mentorship, or opportunities you never asked for. A debt may be forgiven, a promotion may be extended, a gift may arrive at the exact moment of need. The giver may not even know why they are doing it. They may even say, "I just feel like I should help you." That is favor at work. It is God's way of showing you that He can use anyone, anywhere, at any time to provide for His children. It reminds you that your source is not limited to one employer, one connection, or one system. God can stir the heart of a person in high authority or a neighbor next door to release what you need simply because He has chosen to favor you. Another dimension of this blessing is that it often comes through unexpected vessels. Sometimes the very people you least anticipate become the ones who extend kindness. This is how God demonstrates His sovereignty. He shows that He is not bound by our assumptions of where provision must come from. He fed Elijah by sending ravens, creatures considered unclean, to bring food. He caused a widow with nothing but a handful of flour to sustain the prophet during famine. He led wise men from distant lands to present treasures to the infant Jesus. Favor causes blessings to flow from unusual places, reminding us that God can command the hearts of anyone to respond to His will. When people are drawn to bless you, it also shifts the way you view yourself. You begin to understand that your life carries value beyond what you can measure. You realize that you are not overlooked but chosen. The kindness of others becomes a mirror reflecting the truth that you are seen by God, loved by Him, and marked for something greater. It is easy to feel unworthy or insignificant, but when blessings flow toward you repeatedly, it reminds you that you are walking under a covering not of your own making. The very experience of receiving what you did not ask for and what you did not earn humbles your heart and deepens your gratitude. Sometimes these blessings are not material, but relational or spiritual. You may find that people open doors for you in ministry, in business, or in community. They may connect you with opportunities or introduce you to networks that expand your reach. Others may speak words of encouragement that strengthen your faith in crucial moments. Some may intercede for you in prayer without even telling you. These unseen blessings, prompted by divine favor, sustain you in ways that material provision cannot. They remind you that God's favor surrounds you like a shield, touching every dimension of your existence. An important truth about this sign is that those who bless you often do so without fully understanding why. This shows us that favor overrides human reasoning. It is not that you manipulated them or that they calculated a benefit for themselves. They simply feel compelled, moved by a prompting they cannot quite articulate. This is why people will sometimes say, "There's just something about you," or "I don't know why, but I want to help." That something is the aroma of favor, the evidence of God's mark upon your life. When His presence rests on you, it creates an irresistible draw that compels others to respond. This blessing does not mean that every person you encounter will favor you. There will still be those who misunderstand you, resist you, or even oppose you. But when God's favor is active, those who are meant to bless you cannot resist the divine tug on their hearts. Even if they do not realize it, they are being woven into the tapestry of God's plan for your life. Their generosity becomes part of your testimony, and it demonstrates to the watching world that you are not advancing by your own strength, but by the orchestration of heaven. Reflecting on your own journey, You may recall moments when unexpected help arrived just when you needed it most. Perhaps someone paid a bill when you had no resources, or a door opened through the kindness of a mentor, or a stranger spoke words that lifted your spirit when you were close to despair. These are not random moments. They are signs of divine favor. They show you that your life is under heaven's care, that you are not walking alone, and that God has assigned people along your path to pour into you as you pursue His purpose. When trials turn into testimonies that glorify God, it is one of the clearest signs that His favor rests upon your life. Trials by their very nature are difficult, uncomfortable, and often overwhelming. They arrive in unexpected seasons, shaking the foundations of your faith and pushing you to the limits of your endurance. Yet for the one who is favored by God, trials are never wasted. Instead of destroying you, they refine you. Instead of silencing your faith, they amplify it. The very situations that were designed to break you become the platforms from which God's glory shines the brightest. This transformation of trial into testimony is not natural, it is supernatural. It is the mark of favor that ensures no pain is wasted, no setback is meaningless, and no storm passes without revealing the power of God at work in your story. Consider the story of Job, a man who endured loss on every side. His wealth, health, and family were stripped from him in a season of devastating trial. Yet even in his darkest moments, Job remained tethered to his faith in God. By all accounts, his life should have ended in despair, but the favor of God turned his trial into a testimony. In the end, Job received double what he had lost, his story preserved through scripture to inspire generations. His trial became a living witness that God is faithful, that His purposes are beyond comprehension, and that favor ensures restoration follows suffering. What should have been Job's ending became a testimony that continues to glorify God centuries later. The same pattern can be seen in the life of Paul the Apostle. He faced imprisonments, beatings, shipwrecks, and betrayals, yet each trial became a stage for the power of God. When he and Silas were chained in the Philippian jail, their midnight praises caused the prison doors to open and the jailer's family to be saved. What began as a trial ended as a testimony of salvation and deliverance. The favor of God ensures that suffering is not the final word. Instead, the outcome of the trial is redirected to bring honor to His name and strength to your faith. What was designed to crush you becomes the very thing that builds you. In your own life, you may have walked through seasons that felt unbearable, financial strain, broken relationships, illness, betrayal, or loss. Yet somehow, after the storm passed, you found yourself not only surviving but testifying. You looked back and realized that the trial you thought would end, you had actually birthed resilience, wisdom, and faith you never knew you possessed. This is what divine favor does. It transforms tears into fuel for worship, ashes into beauty, and valleys into altars where God's presence is revealed. Those around you watch and marvel not at your strength, but at the undeniable hand of God that has carried you through. One of the mysteries of favor is that trials often come as evidence of it. Those who are favored are not exempt from hardship. In fact, favor often attracts trials because the enemy seeks to derail what God is establishing. Yet even in this, God's sovereignty is evident. The trial becomes a refining fire, purifying motives, strengthening faith, and aligning you with His purposes. When the trial concludes, the testimony is not simply that you endured, but that God's power was revealed in the midst of your weakness. This is why favored people can declare with confidence that all things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to His purpose. Trials turned into testimonies also serve a greater purpose beyond personal encouragement. They inspire and strengthen others. When people see how you walked through difficulty and emerged with peace, joy, and victory, their faith is ignited. Your testimony becomes a beacon of hope to those still in their trial. They look at your life and say, if God did it for them, He can do it for me. This is the multiplying effect of favor. It does not only bless you, but it ripples outward, impacting everyone who hears your story. The power of testimony is that it invites others into the reality of God's faithfulness, turning your private struggle into a public declaration of His glory. The process of trials becoming testimonies also reshapes your perspective. You begin to recognize that challenges are not signs of abandonment, but opportunities for God to reveal His strength. Where others see defeat, You see the hand of God preparing a greater story. Where others see loss, you see the seed of future restoration. This perspective does not remove the pain of trials, but it anchors your heart with hope, knowing that every hardship carries the potential to glorify God. The favored one does not fear trials, because they know that no matter how dark the night, the morning will bring a testimony. Even in seasons of intense struggle, favor provides glimpses of God's presence. There are moments when peace descends in the middle of chaos, when provision arrives in the middle of lack, when encouragement comes in the middle of despair. These are reminders that God is already turning the trial into testimony, even before the final outcome is revealed. The favor of God ensures that you are never alone in your hardship. He walks with you through the fire. He stands beside you in the storm, and He carries you when your strength is gone. This companionship becomes part of your testimony, for you can say with confidence, I have seen the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Trials turned into testimonies also expose the enemy's defeat. The very schemes designed to harm you end up serving God's purposes. Joseph could stand before his brothers, who sold him into slavery, and declare, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. That statement is the essence of favor. The enemy plots destruction, but God rewrites the outcome into redemption. The favor of God does not only shield you from harm, it transforms harm into a stepping stone toward destiny. What was meant to diminish your life ends up amplifying the glory of God through your life. Reflect on the stories of your own past. There are moments you thought were endings, yet they became beginnings. There are losses that look permanent, yet they birthed new seasons of growth. There are battles you thought you lost, yet they forged victories in unexpected ways. Each of these is a testimony, not just of your endurance, but of God's unwavering favor. They serve as reminders that no trial is wasted, and every struggle has the potential to magnify His name.